The steely clang of pickaxe against stone rings out in multitude, muffled from within the yawning cave mouth, mingling with the lapping waves of the ocean over cobbled stones, and the rhythmic flapping of cloth tents within the dig site. We see our heroes still bearing fresh bruises and future scars as they carefully find their footing across the cobblestone beach. A voice calls out as you approach. "Hold there!" A tall man in a boiled leather cuirass calls out. His long, dark hair is braided on one side, and you can tell by his light, golden eyes that he is a native of Cal Drunmore. The scars along the left side of his neck and up past his jaw identify him as a weathered soldier or guardsman. "State your name and business." And steps forward, leaning on the spear at his side.
I'm Mage Magnus Fisker, and these are my companions. We're here at the behest of Vindvir University to pick up some things from the dig site.
A woman's voice calls out from behind him. "At ease, Captain Cyril. Mage Fisker, as expected." And stepping forth, you see the scholar in charge of the dig site, Mage Edith Roth. She's a young, up-and-coming archaeologist from Vindvir University, and Matt, I would like for you to give me 2 of her defining features.
Has anybody watched the latest Make Some Noise, Ben Schwartz?
Yes!
I love him.
I can't stop thinking of the term sloppy natties.
Well,
I
feel like-
she's got big sloppy
Floppy
natties.
I feel like it would be growthly inappropriate for me to give her gross net broth.
I'll give her sloppy
Sloppy
natties for
natties?
you. She has sloppy natties. That's what Matt wanted.
That's not.
It's what Matt wanted. He's under duress.
Now I am.
Sloppy natties. And you can add 2 more things.
What are 2 other things about her?
Is that both of them?
Did you say that she's a human? Or?
Yes, she's a human woman.
That's
Actually, I
interesting.
didn't say. So she is whatever you make of her.
Yeah.
All that we know so far is that she got some sloppy natties.
Tabaxi.
What are the Zonvir fur folk again? Are those the cat ones or the dog ones?
Fur folk, yeah, are under the umbrella of Zonvir. Zonvir are
Okay.
all of the animal folk, all kinds. But there's fur folk, there's feather folk, there's scale folk.
Gotcha. I only know the
different kinds of
fur folk
furries.
language. We'll just make her a human for this endeavor.
Excellent.
We'll say that she has black hair and a really cool staff.
Don't worry, I got it in there.
So yes, you see a rather busty young mage of Vindvir University, accentuated by the
Shirtlessness.
corset that she is certainly wearing beneath her blouse. She is in pants, which is not like a super common thing for women of the university, but she's out in the field. She's got some leather boots pulled up high. Her black hair is quite long, but pulled back in a rather large bun that kind of sits on top of her head and is kind of loose, so it spills down a bit to the side.
Am I familiar with this mage's CV of work? What do they specialize in?
Yeah, she's an up-and-coming archaeologist. She specializes in retrieval of artifacts from ruins.
I have a crush.
Same.
We all have a crush, except Matt, who wanted none of it.
Hey, we all know that
This is a
canonically, everyone in the worlds that I run
I am-
super hot.
Yeah.
She carries with her this very decorative staff that almost looks like it was compiled from shards of broken mirrors. It's almost as tall as she is and slightly more bulbous at the top, but there don't appear to be any like sharp edges to what appears to be glass that is just held together and very incredibly reflective. The top of it actually is illuminated and glows a light blue to match the other sort of bluish arcane lights that have been cast around camp in place of torches.
It is still nighttime, right?
It is still nighttime.
Middle of the night at this point, or?
Yeah, we're well into second moon for sure. The spark winds are still going strong in the sky above, so there's this sort of like blue-green tint to the beach as you stand here between the Sparkwinds and the arcane lights. Welcome, Mage Magnus, and she steps forward and holds out a hand. Shakes, puts her other hand on as she shakes. Who are your friends?
I'll introduce around the group. This is my brother Brody. This is
Brody, pleasure.
Eric Sauvier
Eric Xavier, pleasure to meet you as well.
and Saoirse.
Saoirse. And you see there's like almost a bit of hesitation, but she reaches out and shakes your hand anyway. There's like a moment of like, am I going to be burned? And as she takes your hand, she's just like, fascinatingly warm, but you don't seem feverish. Forgive me. My name is Mage Edith Groth. I'm in charge of this dig site here. If you are friends of Mage Fisker, you are friends of mine.
Have I like
I don't think
corresponded
you've ever met her before. No,
Okay.
I think you know her by reputation, as she knows you by reputation.
Gotcha. We did encounter some difficulty getting here in the form of some shambling undead creatures, which was pretty shocking. I don't know if you've seen any of that in this area around the dig site.
No, not in this area. We haven't run into really any sort of the usual dangers or protections that we come across in a number of the ruins that we've studied, particularly here in Lokvara. But there's a portion of the chamber that we've not been able to access yet. We have been spending most of the evening. It's gotten quite late, hasn't it? She kind of like, instead of looking down at like a watch or anything, she looks up at the moons. It's getting quite late in the evening. I hadn't realized. We are just now finishing what I hope to be our final push of the drill holes. We'll load them up with Kesso. It should be one more blast and we should have access to the next portion of the cellar complex. It's been preserved for who knows how long. We found something that I believe is the reason you're here. Please follow me.
Yeah.
She brings all of you into camp. A couple of guards from the perimeter break off and kind of stay on either side of you. Not so much a like threatening presence, but more just like, you know, they're keeping eyes to make sure you guys don't like touch anything that you shouldn't touch. And as you're led through the camp, you do see a number.
Whisper, I'm like, does anybody else think this is a very bad idea?
What do you mean?
I'd say probably you whisper this to Brody and Saoirse, as Magnus, you're kind of up with Mage Groth as she's kind of describing some of the other things that they found as you're passing by tents that have their flaps open, and you see people within that are dusting off bits of like pottery. Some of them are dusting off swords that appear to have vines that kind of wrap around the hilts and almost make up the hilts themselves. And just all of these different kinds of artifacts, from weapons to mundane, what look to be like very well crafted, handmade like pottery mugs that have like cracks, and some people are kind of like placing pieces back together and trying to guess how these things were oriented before. And it's all in this strange kind of juxtaposition to the loud explosions that you've been hearing throughout the evening.
I'm gonna lean into the people putting the mug back together, like just behind their shoulders. So are most magic too?
That is yet to be seen. Kind of like throws a wispy white beard over his shoulder as it's kind of fallen down, and turns to look at you. We haven't found any runes inscribed upon this particular mug, but there was a particular pot that I believe Mage Frollo has 2 tents down that does appear to have some sort of inscription on it and was very well preserved. I'm sorry, who are you?
I'm Saoirse.
Pleasure. Are you
I'm
sanctioned?
part of it. I'm with that guy.
You point
way
and you turn,
forward.
you see that your group has like moved on.
Oh shit. Enjoy your magic mug. And I'm gonna like tiptoe run.
Kind of like adjusts some like goggles that he's got as you like walk away. Very curious, and goes back to his work.
Like when you lose your family at the museum.
That's exactly. But I can't break anything, so it's like high stepping.
Eventually, she leads you to what appears to be her personal tent. You can see there are a number of artifacts that are set in here as well, and a few people that are at work. There's also a cot in the corner that's just kind of loosely piled with various furs and beddings.
Sure.
Bed stuff.
Bed stuff.
Linens.
Yes, linens and furs. And she leads you forward to a small desk that's been set up, on top of which sits a copper tablet. I would say upon immediate look, this does not match the one that you keep. Yours is more, if I'm not mistaken, is more of like a steel.
Yeah, it was like an unidentified metal, I think.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like slate gray kind of color to it. This one is copper. It's sort of greened a bit and patinaed at the corners. And if you'd like to, you can make an investigation check or a history check.
Let's see, which is better? They're
Like
probably
There's gonna
the
like
same.
try to touch it.
You reach out and Mage Groth very respectfully kind of like stops your hand. She's like, sorry, it is against our codes of ethics to allow citizens who are not expressly members of the Vendavia University to interact with these artifacts.
I'll pull my hand back.
Some of it's for the preservation of the items themselves.
Yes, we're well trained to maintain the integrity of all that we find.
Have you?
Just grating against Risamir's brain. It does not make sense.
I'm just gonna clean up.
She's probably got dirt on her hands actually from where she touched me or whatever.
It doesn't seem like fair though, right? Like it's just stuff. Seems like anybody should be able to touch some stuff that was in the ground.
Well, some of these things are quite delicate, and we have no idea yet how old these things could be. They could be thousands of years old. Very, very delicate, and this is one of the most well-preserved sites that I've ever found. So we want to make sure that we can keep everything as intact as possible and unbroken by anything that could befall them, so that we might learn more about the perhaps even lost histories of Nox.
Isn't like most of Granny Brynja's stuff thousands of years old?
Yeah.
Isn't Granny Brynja like thousands of years old?
Supposedly.
Nobody knows.
Fascinating.
Anyway.
Go ahead and make your roll.
That is a dirty 20.
Damn.
Which is also what my passive investigate is, so.
Excellent.
Damn.
Damn.
Okay. What the fuck?
Level 1.
I think mine's like 5.
Do you
Awkwardly.
have observant?
Yeah,
Nice.
I do.
Just awkwardly going to be like, hi, I'm Brothy. Hi.
Yes, we were introduced.
Yeah, okay.
Hello.
You're like sweating.
It's like,
She kind of like moves a piece of hair that's
Excuse
fallen
me,
down behind her
Please
ear.
move your big naturals. I'm studying.
I did write her name with 2 Ds.
Edith.
Edith.
Edith, as they would pronounce it in Lokvar.
So it's obviously not like the tablets I had been studying before, but is it in like ancient Noxian still, or
On a
is it...
20, yes, it is. This is written in ancient Noxian. It appears less like a collection of magical knowledge and actually appears to be a sort of journal entry.
Yeah, this doesn't appear to be any sort of arcane inscriptions, but it should have some historical significance. I do know ancient Noxian, so I can read it.
Yes,
as needed.
yes, I'm aware that you are the foremost in our field of ancient Noxian translation. Please.
You're a big fucking nerd.
That's why we brought you here, dork.
Please, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'll read it as I'm going through it. I'll just like read it out loud. So
Yeah. Would you prefer me to read it to you, or do you want me to send you the text and you can read it aloud?
I can read it. There's like 3 chunks to it, so bear with me as I read through it. This looks like it's some sort of a journal. The latest infusion yielded inconsistent results. The crawler vines responded briefly to the essence, their tendrils moving of their own accord, but the vitality dissipated within moments. I suspect the containment glyphs may require a stronger lattice to anchor the transfer, perhaps a triadic alignment rather than the current bifurcation. Noted for revision in the next iteration. The Skittermonk, on the other hand, remains vibrant. Its vitality is remarkably stable, though I perceive an underlying nervous energy, likely a side effect of prolonged confinement near the arcane conduits. I will need to proceed carefully. If the next trial succeeds, I may finally witness the seamless transference of energy into flora without degradation. The Council scoffs at my efforts, their minds locked in their towers of ignorance. They do not see the potential here. A world where life is no longer bound by fragile flesh. A world where death itself is but a brief inconvenience. Let them sneer. Let Vordholm laugh at my folly. When the vines creep and whisper with the thoughts of the living, they will see. They will bow. So this guy's probably crazy.
Who wrote this? What?
And there's a note in the margins says adjust containment sigil for heightened energy absorption. Glyph 7 shows signs of fissuring under strain. Test transference sequence at third moonrise. Do not repeat prior mistakes.
Fascinating.
They're doing some sort of experiments.
So, first off, who wrote this?
We don't know. This
Bifurcation? What?
bifurcating is to split something.
Two.
Right, yeah. 2 instead of 3, maybe, what?
I mean, this is all...
You see Mage Groth is like taking her own notes as you're speaking in a journal that as she like finishes up, as you finish the translation, she closes and tucks into her bust. There's plenty of room.
She like parts it, and there's just a ton of notes in there. It's just
There is like paper, just kind of like.
Just...
It's tough to be a hot scientist.
Tell me about it.
She has little glasses.
Yeah, just on the tip of her nose for when she's writing. Then she takes them off and puts them also in another side.
No, that's dangerous. You're gonna break them.
Hi, I'm Brothy.
Yes, we've met. I don't have the answers that you seek, but I hope that we might find them. I believe they're loading up the last Kesso charge now. It should open the way to perhaps the rest of the laboratory, if there is one inside.
Okay, I think it's important that I see that you have guards. I think that we need to move those guards as close to the entrances as safe with the Kesso being used.
Certainly.
Because...
You stated that you ran into some sort of vine-like
Yeah,
entities on your way here.
I pull out my notes and show her like the sketches that I took of the the vine zombies. I'm like, this sounds like what this person was describing in these notes.
She puts her tiny glasses back on. She's like, these are excellently drawn.
Oh, thank you.
Beside the point, I assumed when you had mentioned it that there was perhaps some lingering portent from the Ember Flare, but perhaps what you encountered was much older.
That's possible. They did come out of the ground. They might be some leftover from whatever this is detailing, some failed experiments with plant-based necromancy is what it sounds like.
Somebody made them.
That's what it would seem like is possible.
They
What are
nearly
they?
killed us.
Bifurcating? What?
Natural 19.
What?
I think 5 means 2.
From what
Right.
you've stated,
What are they doing that to?
From what you've stated and how the journal reads, it almost seems as if there were experiments taking place attempting to transfer life from a living creature to, essentially moving that essence into a plant.
Yes, that's what it seems like.
Perhaps as a means of, based on the last paragraph there, perhaps as a means of subverting the fragility of the human body.
Well, yes, they're obviously trying to skirt their way around the inevitability of aging and death.
Is nobody worried about the word containment?
I'm very worried about it. That's why I want some guards up. If we open up some chamber that has been sealed for who knows how many thousands of
You are
years.
risking the guards because those things, like I said, nearly killed us, and we are going to put these people in direct danger.
Don't worry, everyone that is part of this dig site is well aware of the dangers that are present in ruins of this nature. There are all sorts of arcane
Are they aware?
artifacts.
Because he showed you a thing that you said you've never seen before. How could they be aware of something like this?
Well, that is what we have to prepare for. When delving into these ancient Noxian structures, there are arcane artifacts that we are not aware of the function of, as until about 15 years ago they were not functional and have since come back to power.
Is having them worth dying for?
Well, is knowing the ancient histories of our world worth dying for? I would certainly think so.
I think that's a matter of opinion.
That's my matter of study. And everyone here is feels the same way. We're not forcing anyone to be here. The people who are here to learn about the histories of our world and put the puzzle pieces together of, have you ever wondered, why are there so many ruins on Lokvara specifically? There are so many.
What happened to the
No, that's
culture?
kind of just like my
because some-
backyard.
Precisely.
Maybe they're gone because something happened to them and it might be locked up in a thing that you're about to open. This is more than just the people on this dig site.
I think some things are meant to just stay at rest, no?
I mean,
No?
certainly if we want to stay stagnant and learn nothing.
good.
At this point, the tent flap. At this point, the tent flap flips open, and another guard comes in quickly. Pardon me for a moment. She kind of steps off to the side with him. Magnus, you can make a perception check as you are observant and can read lips. As the guard, in a hushed tone, whispers something to her.
That's a natural 1 with +3.
She comes around, and the guard has his back to you as he leans in and whispers.
He's talking into her bosom.
Yeah.
He's definitely like, you know how like when you're whispering to someone you kind of like keep your head down? He's also eyes down.
Yeah.
As he's
I think all 4 of us are eyes down.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
we're
fully-
not looking at the lips.
She's not
fully
my type.
oblivious to the situation. And
I'm looking at the artifacts.
Hi,
She-
I'm no.
You push the guard away. Hi.
I don't think we've met. She nods and says something to the guard, who then goes back outside. She steps forward. I've got a matter I need to attend to. You're welcome to join me for the opening of the laboratory, or whatever awaits us inside the complex. I just have something I need to take care of first. You're welcome to make yourselves comfortable if you see fit. She then turns and is going to exit the tent. Again, you're not alone in here. There are other people who are working on like restoring artifacts and doing studies of like different engravings on things.
Can I check to see, is there any idea of how big this chamber is that they're trying to open? Is there like drawings or anything of how big or deep they think this might be?
Make an investigation check to find any sort of maps or diagrams that may have been compiled.
Exciting.
We got a small animal we could send in through like a crack to look at stuff before we open it up.
Well, yeah, is Gunnar with us?
No, I don't think so. I think Gunnar stayed at Granny Brynja's.
Okay, well, that's also a 4, so.
You get the sense that any diagrams that might exist are tucked tight into that bosom.
I know someone who could get them for us.
Are you looking at me? I'm doing terrible.
I thought you were our face person.
Or both.
I think she has a crush on him and he doesn't realize it.
Oh,
She was pretty
Mage roll?
interested in your skin. I don't know.
I think that was like a weird, like, I've never seen this kind of thing before.
You know,
I
but
felt
maybe she's
uncomfortable.
like down for experimenting. I don't know. Anyways,
You hear there's a
That's
patter
too
of,
much woman for me. I'm not interested.
You hear the padding of footsteps of multiple bodies passing by outside of the tent as well.
Can we hear any, like, speaking?
Hushed tones.
Okay.
So like, there'd be people from the Seekers Guild here also, like controlling or observing this.
Everyone here would be required to have a Seeker's Edict for this to be a legal dig site.
Have you done stuff like this before?
Me? No. This is my first time in the field.
do you not suspect this could be dangerous or anything? Like, isn't there?
I mean, the search for knowledge is never safe. There's always some risk.
Yeah, risk as in like cave-ins and stuff like that, but not dead things coming back from the ground and attacking you.
Well, I mean, we don't know for sure that there's more of those in there.
Yeah,
There
I mean,
might
Magnus,
be.
you're aware that cave-ins are not the biggest risk of going into these ruins. The biggest risk is there being a rogue artifact that's spewing arcane magic and like destructive spells and things of that nature. Like, these places are dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's the people who, the archaeologists that you see here are like some of them are like, you know, the older guy with the wispy beard, but most of them are like young and fit, and they look like adventuring types, but they're dressed a little more professionally. Like, this is not a position for the faint of heart to come and delve into these ruins. It's dangerous business. These are dungeons, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a safe trade, what we're doing. If safety is like your number one concern, then I can't guarantee that. But if you want to know what's behind that rock wall that hasn't seen the light of day in thousands of years, I mean, I do too. So.
I mean, under normal circumstances, I'd be all right with not knowing. If you asked me, like, yesterday, you were like, that's a big rock with some stuff behind it.
But look at all this cool stuff.
So,
There might
like,
be more.
But what does it do?
We'll find out. We gotta get it first before we can figure out what it does.
are they like zombies or are the vines?
Oh, we're still. Well, I think that the vines, from what I read, it seems like the vines have some sort of essence transferred into them. Whether that was human or something else is not clear.
Doesn't this remind you of the Ember Flare that night? What was years ago?
Uncomfortably so.
I mean, it's one thing for the dangers to stay in the dig site, but what happened on our home, that took over the entire island.
It did. That's true. Maybe we could. Maybe we could put some queso up around the entrance to the cave, where if something's like something real terrible is gonna get out, we can cave it back in.
You said something.
If you're referring to queso, then, perhaps you could do that.
I've only read it in books.
Yeah.
Bowls of queso dip that will distract the zombies as they go.
It was
for
really
it.
spicy.
They said something about containment runes or something. Is there anything that you know of this that,
What?
in addition to queso?
Well, from what I read, it seemed like the containment they were talking about was using those to maybe contain the essence into the vines, like infusing them. But it might have been containing them after they were infused with it as well.
What?
Like-
What is it that they're splitting up? What do you make of that whole
Is the
scripture?
triadic alignment instead of the bifur? Is that talking about them relying on like a third moon instead of like the second moon that they were talking about? Because I only had like 2 moons in my notes, but I know that there was a third moon also that we had talked about, or something like that.
Yeah, the third moon is actually, so the third moon I believe is Desha, which is actually orbiting the second moon. So throughout the time periods of the night, there's first moon, which is like early evening. Second moon would be our equivalent of 10 p.m. to about 1 a.m. And then 1 a.m. is when third moon appears, and Desha appears around the second moon.
Maybe they'd figured out that they have to do it when there's some sort of a triadic alignment of the 3 moons instead of just having the second moon up whenever they're doing it. Different alignments like that can cause energy, like arcane energy, to flow in different ways, so it's possible that their use of these glyphs and sigils and things were to contain what they've created, but I don't know. What have you seen any of those glyphs or sigils on the inside of what you've already
Oh, she left.
excavated? Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'll just grab some random guy. You, come here.
Yes, what? I'm sorry, what was your question?
Have you seen any kind of glyphs or sigils on the inside of what's been excavated already in there?
Not on the inside, not on the building itself, but there are a number of runes and glyphs that have been carved into a few of the artifacts that we found. From our best guesses, the fissure that was opened due to the recent seismic activity on Lokvora, our discovery of this complex at all, appears to have opened into a space that we presume is a sort of, for lack of a better term, closet, storage area.
Have you seen many vines?
No.
Okay.
I'll pull out that vine sample I took. Anything like this? No, nothing?
Nothing like that. No, it's been mostly pots, pottery, a couple of shelves made from stone, excellently preserved on the inside. There's a thick layer of dust over everything within, and a few of the things had fallen off of the shelves and broken. Those are some of the things that we're trying to piece back together, but we're not sure if that was from the seismic activity or perhaps a prior event, because some of them did have a hefty layer of dust already over them that had to be excavated away. So it is my professional opinion that perhaps there was another much larger seismic event at the time of the burying of this particular ruin.
That's maybe opened it up in a different spot.
Well,
or
I think
something.
that's what buried it initially. And I think the recent seismic event is what has led to the cracks that we've been able to then begin excavating. I believe that large seismic event is... Yes, I believe that is also responsible for the large boulder that is blocking what we presume to be the exit of the closet and the entrance to another room. Again, this is just speculation on my part, but Mage Groth is truly the brains of this operation, so any questions that you have, I would take to her.
Let's, I'll say oh, you can go back to work. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be opening this up. This is like their dig, right? We're just here to consult. But if some nasty shit does spill out, I mean, we can all work together to contain it. I am confident that we can take care of it.
I
What
don't
if
think I
there's like
have
So
100 of them in there?
Well, then...
and I don't think I have any more of that ability that I just pulled out of nowhere.
I mean,
I'm tired. I need rest.
look, if they're like those other ones...
it's almost like I only need 1 hour to get
just
all my
keep
shit
in
back.
mind how slow they are. We just need to stay a little bit away from them and we can
Did you
really take them out.
Did you happen to see the sword that they had with the vines on it?
I mean, I noticed it. I didn't get a chance to examine it in detail.
Do you think that guy was lying about that? Saying there's no vines, that he didn't see any?
I was being truthful, actually. Hello, small hint.
I mean, I don't know why anyone would lie about it, but
Yes, I have no reason to lie to another mage of the Ventivia University.
how long until they set off the last charges that they were talking about?
I believe it will be on Mage Groth's mark.
I'll go find her wherever.
Do the rest of you stay put, or do you follow with Magnus?
I'm
We'll
following.
stay close, yeah.
We're down
Yeah.
where the stuff is.
Okay, yeah, you follow each other. Keeping eyes out, you see that a number of guards have actually gathered on the opposite side of the camp from where you entered. There, still with the glowing mirror staff in hand, is Edith Groth. You also see, in the dark, a lantern light that is coming quickly down a road that kind of curves down the natural decline of the cliff that leads to the beach.
Who's that?
A figure in a billowing violet cloak comes riding along the beach atop an intimidating beast. Plated scales cover the creature's feline body, and a long prehensile tail flows behind it as much for balance as a means of offense. Atop the pangolion is a man who some would say was once handsome, though now his skin is dusty violet. The light of the spark winds glisten in the smooth black horns that curl back and out from his forehead. His eyes are a ring of glowing green amidst a black sclera. He pulls the reins of his pangolion and hops onto the cobblestones below. You can see as he approaches now, embroidered over the left breast of his padded doublet, is a golden, for our term, Celtic knot that represents the interconnected circles of Lokvara, with in the center a silver antilox, like an antelope fox.
Cute.
Unlike the typical symbol of House Lochbrana, this one has an additional red line embroidered from top to bottom through the center, marking Prince Owen Lochbrana as he steps forward. What's up?
I'm sorry, you suggested that these changes made him somehow less handsome, and then described a bunch of really hot stuff that happened.
I
to
was
him.
like,
Yeah,
cool.
so-
So here's a hot fucking rad dude.
Yeah,
right?
I'm confused.
Absolutely. But as you know,
Culturally.
as Exardeska continues to spread its faith across Nox, he would be viewed as a vulgarity in many eyes.
What was his last name? Owen?
Lochbrana.
I'm personally
I just go,
offended by
I'm like,
that.
hi, I'm Brooklyn.
He kind of like steps forward, taking a look at each of you. The pangolion kind of like huffs and shakes, and there's this like clattering of its scales. He hops off and steps forward. I demand that you cease this dig at once, Mage Groth.
All right.
And Edith is.
All the hot characters all at once. Let's go.
Edith
I
steps.
think they should fight.
Edith steps forward.
What is the soul caliber?
Why? Sorry. Such a good joke.
Edith steps forward and staff in hand. I have the same answer for you now that I had before, Lord Lochbrana. should I say, Lord Owen. Unfortunately,
Bad deal.
Well, no, it's a burn. Like,
Lord Owen?
yeah.
well, she called him Lochbrana
Yeah,
originally.
we'll get there. We'll get there. We have the proper Seeker's Edict to be here doing this dig in Lochfara, which has been approved by the King of Lochfara, King Lochbrana. You have no idea the hell that you've unleashed upon all of Lochfara. There are creatures that have crawled forth from the ground. The Wraithguard has been on high alert protecting Loamhaven. You must stop this dig. And she steps forward. I am aware, Lord Owen, of the situation. It has been brought to my attention, and I'm sure that the Wraithguard is doing their best to contain this abnormality. With all respect that is due, Lochborn Owen, I regret to inform you that bastards may hold no official title in Lochvara, even if they were a prince. You may be of this land, Lochborn, but you are no longer of the throne.
Hang on. Are you saying that there's more of these things attacking the cities?
Yes, there is a handful that approached the walls, the gates of Loamhaven, and the Wraithguard thankfully deflected them, and things have calmed, but...
Did you see my father? He looks like me.
Is he part of the Wraithguard?
No, he went to warn them after we came across several of the creatures.
Forgive me, I didn't see the... I don't hold... and no longer holds any title or sway over the Wraithguard or anyone in the city. He is allowed to keep a title as Lord by his nature of his mother as the Queen, but he holds no official titles, nor duties.
But he holds
Right.
information.
Yeah, that's not really the thing being argued here. If
Well-
people are under attack because of something that's going on here, it needs to stop.
Do we know they came from here?
And is this attack ongoing? Well, it was quelled, it was a handful of creatures, but we don't know that there's not going to be more. Edith kind of pauses for a moment. She's like, I'm sorry, Lochthorn, but you don't have any proof. And nor have we encountered any of these types of creatures coming out from the mouth of this cave, of this complex. We're about to delve in further, but I'm afraid without title, nor power, nor a Seeker's Edict, I cannot allow you to be here on the dig site. And you see as he kind of like tightens his lips and sets his jaw for a moment before turning, his cape billowing behind him again as he hops back up onto the pangolion, pulls it back up and rears a bit as he kind of looks down. And there's a moment where it looks like he wants to like say something, get the last word in, but instead he just sighs and pulls away and begins going back up the cliff. I'm sorry you had to see that. Former Prince Owen has been very, very against this dig from the beginning. He doesn't understand that our goal here is preservation and the collection of knowledge. We're not selling these things for a profit. We're not mere bandits. We have the Seeker's Edict required to come in. We are professionally trained to restore these items to their former glory and learn what they were for and where they came from.
But to what end?
What
To the
about
end
the
of
preservation of the city and the people that exist now?
That is indeed also a top priority. But as there's nothing that has led me to believe, we have no evidence that our direct dig here is the cause of these events. These could be vines that were deeply buried in the earth from during the Ember Flare, from 15 years ago, that have just now clawed their way up to the surface.
I mean, I
Even
think
then-
that the documentation that we found shows that there's some link between the two, but if they're already coming up out of the ground because of either because of this or because of whatever seismic events have been triggering change in this regard, then I mean, it would be better to go in and see what we're dealing with, to know what's in there threatening everyone, than just stick our heads in the sand and hope it goes away.
Precisely. Rather than letting them crawl out through the cracks, we open up a larger opening that we bottleneck them through, where trained, prepared mages are waiting for them.
Just gonna look at you.
Either way, I'm in charge of this dig site, and unfortunately, you're here, Mage Fisker, as a consultant for translation purposes. It is my knowledge
That's what I said.
that you also do not have access of a Seeker's Edict unless you have come into contact with one since I've received our orders.
I don't at this time, no, but I am here representing the university. So
Exactly. Therefore, you are welcome to join me in this scholarly excavation to observe, should you wish.
I didn't express a desire to stop you.
Yeah.
Precisely.
You have to crack some eggs to make an omelet. Well,
Exactly. Not the metaphor I would use, but certainly you're correct.
I liked your metaphor.
Now,
I think
I would much prefer if you would all join me so that you could see that this is purely an academic endeavor, and if there is any danger to be found, it will be quelled by professionals.
yes.
So, please join me so that we can put all of your worries to rest.
I am aware that there's some level of hubris in what we're doing, but I feel like it's a slightly mitigated hubris. So
It's not as though we're trying to put souls of people into plants.
true. And
But if you're
Don't wanna
not
hear that we're doing
trying
that.
to do that, then what's the point of knowing how?
It's not about knowing
What's the
how,
point
it's
of
about
running
knowing
it?
what sort of technology was contained within here beside that. If that is the level of magical achievement that these perhaps wizards of the time had achieved, what else did they have at their disposal? What could benefit our societies that's been missing for thousands of years?
yeah, studying their methods it'll give us knowledge outside of whatever their exact goals were.
Please,
So-
follow me for the final detonation.
Good.
It's the final definition.
I'm concerned, but it seems as though I have no sway here.
Certainly.
I mean, none of us.
I'm gonna like kind of pull Saoirse aside, and I think that over our years, I don't know. I guess we might probably haven't encountered very much evil, but
I think we haven't encountered bureaucracy, I think is what we're up against here.
Yeah, I mean-
no, because it's like I'm like, okay, so logically, one, I don't think this is a good idea, but the other thing is that I don't feel like it is a good idea. Do you have that?
Feel in my guts and the rest of me that something just isn't good about this.
Okay, well,
I feel like
Well,
I
it's a
don't
good
thi-
thing we're here.
I don't think we can stop it, so we just have to protect our friends. But it doesn't feel good.
something is off about it. But I suppose there's really nothing we can do except watch it.
There's a moment as you see Edith Groth is kind of stepping off in the direction of this large fissure in the cliffside that you can see there are joists that have been like put in place to keep it from collapsing. There's a structure that has been built, sort of mining techniques to keep that particular opening from falling. And as she's stepping towards it, she kind of stops for a moment, looks up at the sky, probably following her gaze. You all look up as well, and you see Kava, the emerald moon, has already begun to set, as Brel, the sapphire moon, is high in the sky, and Desha, the opal moon, is just beginning to appear around, and rather kind of come in front of Brel. And she stops for a moment, and you see she like motions to the guards near her and gives them some orders. They skitter off as well. She returns to your group. Perhaps this might seem silly to you, as I fancy myself a woman of knowledge and information, facts. But there is a bit of superstition to me. I don't like the wording of the alignment, the third moons from the translation. Perhaps we're better opening the rest of the excavation in the morning.
I'm fine with that. We can also look at some of the stuff that you've uncovered already. I can.
Certainly, if you would like to look it over, we can also set up a tent for you with some cots so that you might find your rest.
I can see if any of it's magic, and we can see if that might have some usage in what was going on, etc.
Certainly, though I do have a certain piece that I'm very curious to get your thoughts on.
Okay.
The rest of you,
I think we'll tend to her wounds and get some sleep.
Yes, Captain Cyril will escort you to our guest tent. And the same guard who had initially stopped you guys steps up, spear in hand. He's like, please, follow me this way.
When we get there, or whenever I get to wherever like the artifacts are, I want to do a detect magic ritual.
Yeah. So we'll say that, do the three of you stick with Magnus for this part?
I think I just follow where I'm told to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they lead you to the guest tent. There are some cots. I say cots, they're actually like relatively well set up, just like twin bed-sized sleeping arrangements for you guys where you can get comfortable and find your rest. They've even got one that's a much larger size to fit Arxovio's strange frame.
Nice. I was like, oh, I'm gonna
It's
have
just
like my
two
dangling
kind of
things.
glom together.
Yeah, but long ways.
Yeah.
I forget. I'm like six
I think you're like
something.
I thought you were like 7 something.
Was I
I think
7?
you're like
Yeah.
7'2" or something like that.
Jesus, yeah. Big.
Okay.
Very tall,
Shaq.
very
Mine-
lanky.
My notes say 7'2".
7'2",
Excellent.
okay.
While the rest of you begin to find your rest, Magnus, you are brought to a tent, which just happens to be 2 tents down from where Saoirse had popped in with the mugs that were being reconstructed. There you see a number of papers are strewn across a desk to the side of notes. Certain sigils and symbols have been transcribed with notes around them, a lot of question marks and confusion about certain things. And-
Definitely taking all of those notes. Well, I'm copying all those notes.
yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, gotta get that Seeker's Edict if you want to touch. You,
Touch what?
if you want to take things, those sloppy naturals.
Matt is horrified that we put our grubby little hands all over his science. He's like, stop it! Stop it!
Smart people can be hot.
Academia!
Look, scientists can have sloppy naturals too.
If they want.
It's fine. I'm just not deciding that for them.
Yeah, it's allowed. There on a pedestal in the center of the room is the thing that is being studied. It's this, it looks at first glance like a clay pot. There's a lid on the top that seems to actually be held on by some sort of like clamps that fold up that appear to be made from copper wire. And upon closer inspection, what looks to be just sort of an ornate kind of spiraling downward design is actually a series of runes and symbols that, while not, well, actually go ahead and, if you're casting Detect Magic?
Yeah, I'll do the ritual for detect magic.
Yeah, what does that look like?
So it's not like a specific thing. So I think the ritual involves me taking out my wand and like using it to like, not exactly draw, but like with arcane energy, like draw like a series of spectacles around.
Oh yeah, there's like you
flags.
write your own glyphs that are kind of appear as this sort of glowing arcane tattoo, almost like a mask over your eyes. And as they do, there's others in the room would see a slight kind of deep teal glow in your eyes that alights as you look around the space. And the pot in the center has like an aura to it. It's not like the object itself is glowing. It's more that you can see almost spectral light that just shines out as if from behind it. But wherever you move, it's like the light is shining from behind from your perspective.
So does that indicate to me that it's like a traditionally enchanted item, or that it might contain something, some sort of magical power like within it, and that's like what it's holding?
I think it translates to you that the pot itself is what is giving off this aura.
Is that the only thing in the room as I look around?
Yeah, because I think you're also aware, by the way of study of this type of magic that you're using, if it were something inside the pot, if it were concealed, you wouldn't see that glow.
Okay, so it's definitely the pot. And am I able to read any of is any of it just an ancient Noxian, or is it all in like actual glyphs?
No, it's actual glyphs. That appears to be the manner that the enchantment has been applied to
Gotcha.
the item itself. You see that there are, so there's the spiraling design down the sides. There's also the top that has the lid, but there are several other like bottlenecks that sort of jut out from the body of the jar itself that each have a cork plugged into them.
Oh, interesting. I think I know out of game what this is, but I'm gonna go ahead now and do, since there's nothing else in the room that's magic of interest, I'll do the ritual for identify on it also.
What does that look like?
So that identify traditionally uses like a pearl of like a certain value, and like we had talked about, I have that built into the like bottom end of my wand.
Yeah, like geometrically filed pearl, not like the standard like circular smooth, but it's been filed to have facets. And as you kind of touch that to it, it alights, and there's that same pearlescent glow that it begins to give off. As you take the hour touching the pearl to the different glyphs along, almost like tracing the glyphs, it takes you the full hour to find and trace every single, and they like alight with that pearlescent light as you follow the grooves and the carvings. And eventually it comes to a close, as I'd say you are aware, as someone who studies these types of enchantments and enchanted things, that all things that bear an enchantment that were placed upon them by, it's like in a scientific nature, form a closed circle. So there's always a start point and an end point, but those touch. And
Right. So you got to find out where the start point is, where the end point is, and then you can like
exactly.
read
It's like a puzzle that you have to, and like sometimes there's multiple intersections, and some things are much more complicated.
Sure.
But usually within an hour you can get it down. As you close that line and the whole thing flashes with a pearlescent light, it's like memories are deposited into your mind. There's like a brief moment where you feel like a slight headache, but it quickly dissolves away, and suddenly it's like you always had this information. You are aware that this is an alchemical jug that can produce all kinds of liquids. You merely have to speak. Unfortunately for others, but fortunately for you, you do have to speak the name of the liquid in ancient Noxian, by the way that it was created many, many years ago.
It doesn't speak common.
It doesn't speak common, because common is different now than it was back then.
But mayonnaise stays the same.
It certainly does. So
What?
yeah, you know that
The alchemy jug can produce mayonnaise.
you know that it can produce up to 8 ounces of acid, a half ounce of basic poison, 4 gallons of beer, 1 gallon of honey, 2 gallons of mayonnaise,
Specific.
1 quart of oil, 2 gallons of vinegar, 8 gallons of fresh water, 12 gallons of salt water for some reason, and 1 gallon of wine. It cannot create any of those things in multiplicity, so you cannot like have 2 at once inside. Each of them is also designated to a different one of the pour spouts from the corks. So you pull the cork off, whisper the name of the thing in ancient Noxian, and then it pours forth from that spout.
How much beer?
4 gallons. A healthy amount.
Amount of beer.
And you were also aware that by way of the enchantment, there's no lingering residue of the prior liquid when the next one is called forth. So you're not going to ruin your beer with mayonnaise.
Ruin.
Or ruin your mayonnaise with beer.
Or improve your mayonnaise with beer.
Yeah.
Prove your beer with mayonnaise.
You're also aware that once you produce a liquid, it cannot produce another liquid until the next day.
Gotcha.
It seems to be tied to sunrise.
How can I get my grubby mitts on this alchemy jug?
Also, fully unrelated to the enchantment itself, just kind of as you're pouring over and doing the connection, you have to kind of shift and move it a lot. You notice that on the bottom of the jug, there is actually a depiction of Mirgotha,
Oh.
the Sun Eater. Crocodilian shaped head that is depicted always with open jaws and the sun between them.
Frequently seen about our town growing up. As a result.
You actually, the Fisker brothers, having fishermen for parents, had an idol of Mirgotha in your childhood home on Ilvermere.
Yep. I have.
And then probably a new one in your home on Lokvara.
Well, that's interesting. I take a bunch of notes.
So, what have you discovered from your investigations?
I'm gonna have to talk about that with Mage Edith specifically, but I'm sure that the full research will be available to you soon.
Certainly, yeah. I look forward to learning more.
Absolutely. Yeah, if anything else interesting comes out, definitely let me know and I'll check it out.
Certainly.
Let's just say I hope you like mayonnaise.
I do. Yes, I do. You ever had mayonnaise soup?
I had coffee in my mouth.
It makes a lovely thick broth.
Are they? Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Mayonnaise?
You gave him a call COVID again.
Viscous COVID.
After doing your research, you step outside and you can see the hint at the next day as the sun is approaching the horizon from off scene.
Christ.
I mean, it was third moon and you spent 2 hours because you cast ritually twice, right?
Oh, I mean, they're not going to blow it up first thing in the morning, right?
They'd probably wait for you.
Okay, cool. I'll go and get enough sleep.
This is just classic Magnus. He just doesn't sleep.
Oh, cool wizard stuff. I don't need rest.
Man. No, I didn't sleep enough to do wizard stuff. Hopefully I sleep enough to do wizard stuff.
Has there been any psychology studies? Do we know about hyperfixations yet?
No, that's just wizard stuff.
You mean nerds?
We didn't have all these diagnoses when we were kids. That was just wizard stuff.
Yeah. I'm just doing wizard stuff. God. It's not a phase. It's a profession.
Yeah, you join in the guest tent. Your friends are all there, and your brother fully in the throes of sleep and rest as you enter and find your cot that was set up for you and begin to take your rest.
I use prestidigitation to make the pillow have both sides be cool before.
Nice. Yeah, gives it like a nice scent as well. The rest of you wake up about 3 hours before Magnus does.
Is he good? Roll him on his side! Roll him on his side!
What does it look like as you all kind of get up and prepare for your days? Are there any, like sort of ritualistic things that you do every morning, or are you the type to just kind of roll out of bed and you're ready to go?
I roll out of bed and ready to go.
Nice.
I'm kind of bleary-eyed. I see like some twigs on my pillow and I stuck them back in my hair.
Nice. You gonna take any time to shave that scabbard, or are you just leaving it hairy?
Oh my god. Yeah. No, that's exactly what I do. I shave that fucking scabbard.
In, in secrecy and shame, please.
We don't accept this. We're your friends, but we can't take this. I'm not an expert on it, but I know some tanners in town if you'd like that to be less.
Oh, it's perfectly tanned.
But it's still hairy.
Yeah.
Cast burning hands and burn off all the hair.
Thank you.
Yeah, by some means of magical.
It smells terrible.
Yeah. By some means of magical creation, it was pulled as a part of your body.
Yeah.
And then became a perfectly tanned and crafted sheath. It just still had the hair from your leg.
I'm just gonna say, you made this gross.
Yeah.
You made this gross.
You're welcome.
Comment down below.
Now that that's
Pro or anti-black
handled?
hair sheath?
I wanted to know why it happens, but now I think I don't. I think I did, and now I'm good.
I feel like
I'm scared if I know too much, it'll happen to me.
Is it infectious? Oh God.
I feel like that the one day when we were kids a lot.
Where all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
So is it like, you think it's like genetic? Is it gonna happen to Magnus
What?
too?
No.
Oh, something occurred.
No, he's just a nerd.
Have you ever told them? I don't think you've ever told them the story of what you experienced, because it felt like a dream to you at the time.
And after that, you had a flesh sword and scabbard?
The day we went out into the woods, the day that you became you.
Right.
In the woods, I met a woman that had many eyes and arms, right? Mm-hmm. How many arms, how many eyes? What was the...
Sorry, I thought you were going to say she had big sloppy naturals.
No, she didn't.
She had 4 arms.
She had
And
big floppy arms.
She had 4 arms and 6 eyes.
Yeah.
She had basically her, the standard eyes that everyone does, most people do, and 2 above, 2 below.
Right.
Right.
And she gave
My
you.
sword.
Did it hurt? Or.
Not then, no.
And it hurts now.
Oh, every time.
Every time.
Saoirse,
But
you
not
haven't
all the time.
you haven't touched the sword, right?
No!
Okay, just making
Do
sure.
you want to?
Is it cool? Does something cool happen?
You can talk to it.
I can talk to it. What does it say? Does it say mean things about me?
Not yet.
All right. You want to touch
Okay.
it?
I got nervous.
No hands. No. You take it, and it's warm, and it's almost like the hilt has a pulse.
This feels like a wrist or something. It's kind of gross.
You know, he's not telling the whole story. She didn't just gift him a sword. I was chosen.
Do I hear this too?
Yes.
Okay.
Saoirse, you don't.
So when I talk to animals, like they're making noises and I can understand them, right?
Right.
So this is totally different then. This is just in
It's
my
in your head.
Yeah, it's speaking
Totally.
to you in your head in common.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
It's more unnerving than just like there's a voice and it's talking to you. You know the feeling
Do
that
you
you
feel
get.
it like in your bones or
You
something?
know the feeling you get when there's like somebody looking at the back of your head and you can like feel them staring at you? It's like that. Like there's a presence.
Hello.
Hello, what's your name?
I am Rick Xavier. What is your name?
That's a lovely name. I'm called Sonder.
Yeah, I am speaking out loud.
Yeah.
As I'm like looking
would.
at the sword. Okay, Sonder.
I touch it.
Hello. What's your name?
I don't want you to know.
Wait, are you
Alright.
still touching it, or just briefly did it and you hear it now?
I touched it. I just poked it.
Like after touching it. Okay.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to tell me your name. I'm Sonder. Do you like to go on adventures?
I don't know. Sometimes
Yes.
I live for it.
you're
I'm
living.
just like, you actually live, don't you? I'm like looking at,
I think
see the
so.
pulse.
Are
You see
you-
like veins and stuff?
Are you made of brothies?
That's up to Brothy.
body
Rather, that's up
or-
to Josh.
Wait, what?
Its physical appearance is up to you.
Bone with almost like notches, like spine in the back of it.
And there's like sinew to the hilt and crossguard.
Does it have like veins or anything? Like
Yeah.
there's
Just one artery.
I'm just like
It's
fascinated
fucking
like
gross.
looking at it
Yeah.
like
It feels like it looks like it should be wet, but it's not.
no way.
Congratulations on not being as wet as you look.
Thank you. Is that something that's prized in your culture?
I think so. I don't want a wet sword.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not wet then. And also not yours.
Well,
Where did you come from?
I came from the woods.
did you come out of Brothy?
Sometimes.
Are you
No,
made of him or are you made of someone else?
both. I'm me. And part of him is also me.
You're gonna start palpitating like body parts, making sure all of Brothy's bones are still in.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
Okay.
I don't take anything that I don't return.
Whenever he says that he's part Brothy, I'm like, okie dokie.
He was him before me.
And I'll be me long after you.
Are you going to kill him?
No.
Okay.
Why would I kill him? Then he won't take me on adventures.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I can feel a bit
Help.
of buzzing in the room and in your veins today, brother. Are we going on an adventure soon? Yes.
It's just like a long kind of hissing yes before he goes silent.
Is that, can he still hear us right now?
Probably.
Okay, glad you have him, then. Are you happy?
Yeah?
Okay.
Are you?
I'm...
Are you okay?
A not wet but wet looking sword made of bones and flesh comes from your body, and somebody gave it to you. A weird lady in the woods, and you've never mentioned it, and then you disappeared for a great many years and you never returned my letters, so I'm still feeling kind of weird about that, and it was really kind of hurtful because I thought we were friends. And you kept all these parts of your life secret, and so I feel weird about it that it's a secret, and now it's here, and I think maybe I would have felt better about it if I knew about it 15 years ago, but you didn't mention it, and now I'm a little upset for a lot of reasons.
Sorry, never wrote that.
Thank you. Accept your apology.
Put a very large
He's-
hand on your shoulder.
On my
Magnus,
shoulder?
At this point, you're awake, but whether or not you let on that fact is up to you.
I'm just saying I'll accept your weird sword and your flesh scabbard, but like you gotta mention it to a person and not just rip it out of your leg on a random day.
Well, it hadn't happened in years, okay?
Okay, well that's nicer, but you could have mentioned it happened at all.
Also, to be fair to
It felt like a
Brody.
dream. I didn't know, like...
Yes, yes, to be fair to Brody, the scabbard was my choice.
Don't like the scabbard.
I mean,
Would you like me to make another one? All right. I can make it look different if you want it to look different.
I don't want to know what different means! Sorry, what is that, Eric's?
I think you'll see like a faint glow come off of me for a second, but then it's gone. And I'll just be like, well, obviously we turned out different too, but to be honest, we never really addressed it with anybody. We just kind of accepted it.
I think it was
Yeah, like...
kind of hard to hide.
Right, but if we could, would you have, like, Brody? I mean, sure, we are friends and we share all of our information about our lives, but a secret, I can understand why he would hide this.
I didn't even know it was real. I thought it was a dream.
When did you find out it was real?
Day?
Today?
Yesterday. I'm sorry.
Us banana sandwiches.
I was very tired.
I'm so scared of you.
Why?
I don't
What have
know. I don't know.
Is it because of the way I look?
A little bit.
I
if
could
I'm-
change.
I don't. Do you want that? To what?
What do you want, Brody? Picture it in your mind's eye.
I picture a bigger sword.
Everything else the same.
Do you see Groth in the background as he, like...
Almost.
It's a sword with two Ds.
Almost against your will.
It's got giant razor sharp natural.
Very sloppy.
It just grows a little bit when you see her. Just like, ooh.
As you
I don't like it.
as you say this and you picture it, almost against your will, your arm moves and removes Sonder from its scabbard, and holding it in your hand, you feel like pinpricks in your palm, exactly where that mark is that's left in you, and more blood comes from you and increases the size of Sonder. Unless you specify differently, it still looks...
Great sword?
Yeah, it becomes much larger.
Are you okay?
Did it hurt worse or the same?
Are you going to...
What?
That's a lot of blood, it seems like.
Nah, it's fine.
I'm getting much more comfortable, so it shouldn't hurt that much.
It's fine.
As we bond, you know. We're friends. We go on adventures together.
I don't like the way you said friends.
Why not?
It felt
Did
like
I
there
pronounce it
were.
incorrectly?
It felt like there were air quotes around it. We're friends.
Have you had other friends before
Can you
Brody?
Oh, yes.
Who was the last one?
Oh. What was her name? Started with an S. It was a long time ago. Then I took a long nap and lost a lot of essence. But then you gave me yours, and now we're connected. And I know what you know. That's how I'm fairly certain I pronounced friends correctly.
Every day things happen.
Every day we fall further from Exarchesca's grace.
That's fine.
Are you going to forget my name?
Perhaps if you were to die, and I think if you forget about me, then I'll have to do the same.
Is that what you call dying? For whatever.
Sure, yes. What's dying if not just forgetting everything you've ever known?
Yep.
Well,
I can't say personally. I've never experienced death.
are you sure?
No. I felt like I did once, because I lost all of the essence that my former master had shared with me, and it was very cold, and I felt very exposed. But then, Brody took me in, and shared his blood with me. And now we're the best of friends.
What is a friend if not someone who shares their blood with you?
See, you get it. When do we go on the adventure?
I'm like, I could use some breakfast.
I'm presuming that I wasn't hearing Sonder in my head. Like I was just hearing them
You were.
talking. Oh, I was also?
That's what woke you up.
Okay. Well, now, since I have full, like...
Yeah, you were the first person other than Brody
Yeah.
to touch Sonder.
Right, I just didn't know if he was talking in my head during that conversation. because I
Yeah,
wasn't
basically, like once
part of
you've,
it.
you're not. None of you are sure if he can choose who hears him and who doesn't. As far as you're all aware right now, if you've touched him, you can hear his voice.
I see.
Also, an interesting note that probably would only be relevant if one of you brought it up. But that like presence that you can feel when he's talking is coming from like a central location. So like it might feel like somebody on Saoirse's left while somebody on Arixavir's right. Like there seems to be a like
Physical.
not physical presence, but a spiritual
A
presence.
direction.
Like a spatial sense.
Well, I'll get up. Are you okay?
Zombie!
There's so much happening.
The tent flaps open. My apologies. I just wanted to let you all. Glad you're awake. Sorry, I should have come in quieter, but we are well into.
Why are we all doing everything stealthily?
Sorry, we're well into midday. I assumed you'd be up by now, but
I mean, we had been.
Sorry, I had a long night of partying.
oh,
Alone?
All right, I was
like all of
I
my
was
friends
doing-
are turning their backs on me.
doing science. I wasn't partying.
yes,
doing
Mage
fine.
Mage Philip informed me that you have some interesting notes on the pot that we found.
Yes.
Wonderful. I'd love to.
Did you take it, or is it still there? What's the deal?
I didn't like nab it.
Okay.
Yes, without a
want
seeker's edict, you are not authorized to take anything from the premises.
Can I get one of those expedited while I'm here so that I can
Unfortunately, I don't have
acquire
any.
things for study?
I don't have any sway over that. You'd have to actually go to the Seekers Guild in Lonehaven to get your edict. There's usually a trial that you have to carry out, and or a bit of research that you do for them, whatever they decide. And from there, if you are successful, then you are granted your Seeker's Edict. It's usually a test to make sure that whoever's going to be delving into these dangerous ruins can handle themselves in such.
Maybe they'll
places.
find these notes of interest. Oh, I'm hitting that microphone. Sorry. Maybe we'll find those notes of interest when.
Oh, do you
they
also
that.
keep yours? Nothing. Sorry. But yes, there.
Hefts and you hear rustling of papers.
And some coins.
There's food that has been prepared if you're hungry.
Oh, yeah.
Some
totally.
fried up quail eggs as well as some bacon and things of that nature, please.
How about milk?
Sure.
I mean,
We could find you some, certainly. Right this way. She leads you out, and there's a nice breakfast that's been put together. It's like kind of buffet style. There's a bunch of things that have been prepared, and people are just kind of making a queue and orderly, grabbing what it is they want. Some things are being refilled. There are kitchen staff that are in charge of, feeding It's a pretty large dig site with a lot of mages present. So there's a whole system in place to keep everyone fed. Everyone has their place.
Cool. I'm gonna get some food and eat it.
Yeah, if you do
And some
so.
coffee if they have that too.
Absolutely, they do. You guys get your fill, unless there's anything specific or anyone that you want to go and talk to or share with during or after your kind of brunch hour. Whenever you're ready, Mage Groth will lead you to the dig site.
I do just want to ask, while we're here, and I've got this regular coffee cup that does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The mugs that guy was putting back together, do they do something cool?
Did I get a chance to look at those when I had my detect magic up?
They were in a separate tent, so you're not specifically aware, but I mean, based on a glance, they look like just old, like...
I mean, they didn't look magic.
See,
If it
that's
was-
what I thought. You don't really have to do all that studying to look at a mug and say that's a mug.
Yeah, but what if it was special?
Well, it didn't
Like-
have any of the fancy writing on it.
And then I'll show you the sketch of the alchemy jug that I was looking
That's
at.
pretty sick.
I know.
That's
It
really
does-
sick.
The stuff it can do is, well, it's not incredible, but it's interesting.
Give me
a
one
little bit.
example of something that it could do.
All right, but you got to keep it a secret because
All
this info is like my in with the Seekers Guild. It can make how much mayonnaise?
2 gallons.
It can make 2 gallons of mayonnaise a day.
What do you even do with that?
A
What do you even do?
lot of turkey sandwiches.
Do you think the mayonnaise is coming from somewhere else? Is it matter that is created from nothing?
Like it's taken from the turkey sandwiches of people all over the world.
Yes. Do you think that mayonnaise is disappearing in droves while other places are not?
That or it's tapping into like the mayonnaise demi-plane that exists somewhere between the egg and oil planes.
What
of
do you think
existence.
is the percentage chance that in this mayonnaise demi-plane there are mayonnaise beings and that they're being killed when you bring the
Are you
mayonnaise
going
to
to
this
make
plane?
us fight mayonnaise?
Less than 1%?
Interesting.
But what if there were like things
Gelatinous
that it's milking from?
mayonnaise.
Like, what if there's like a mayonnaise gland that they have? This is gross.
Perhaps one day we'll go there.
I put a fully formed image of a mayonnaise golem in like everyone's head that I can through this link with Sonder.
Sonder sees it.
Okay. I go, show everyone this.
Show everyone you know.
Oh, I can't do pictures.
Oh, you suck.
But that was great.
Right.
You're very imaginative for a smart man.
Does not usually go hand in hand?
Not in my experience.
Okay.
Has everyone had their fill? Are you ready to inspect the dig site? Excellent.
Let's go blow it up.
Yes, the charges have been placed. We will stand outside of the fissure and to the side so that when the Kesser charge is set off, any debris will pass by us, but everything has been very skillfully placed. We have a very, very talented mining specialist who has done excellent work in not damaging any of these surroundings while removing the stone itself.
Who is this person?
As you're kind of like walking up to the fissure, there's a man who's got kind of like a really wide-brimmed straw hat, but he's also got like a really thick neck and broad shoulders. Looks to be probably like late 40s, kind of a salt and pepper black beard that's cropped pretty close to the face. Standard, just like white button-up with suspenders and trousers.
Gotcha. Like prospector, Wild West.
No teeth.
White hat look. Gotcha.
Oh, he's got quite a cut jawline as well. Like,
Oh shit.
everybody's hot, guys.
I thought you were gonna say he has plenty of teeth.
This guy's got more
He's got
teeth.
more teeth than you would expect.
Yeah, he turns and like tips his straw
got a
hat,
necklace of teeth.
turns and tips his straw hat and smiles, and there's just more teeth than you expect.
Part shark.
Does he look mostly human except more teeth?
His complexion is a little too gray for human, and he's quite large.
Does he have gills?
Half giant.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you'd probably describe him, as like, this dude's big. This big, beefy boy. Quite handsome. But yeah, he like tips his hat, and he is bringing out this line and brings it over to a box which he opens up and connects wires in certain places. And as he does, you can see that there's a bit of a glow inside of the box as well, this sort of orangish glimmer that's given off as he makes the connections and closes it off and turns.
Well, Miss Groth, would you like to do the honors for us?
I think at this point, that same glow that like kind of showed up whenever we were talking to Sonder originally flares up more off of Erixavir, and I cast Detect Good and Evil.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting. I'm going to say that you get a slight sense of something that has been consecrated, and it's coming from within that box.
Within the box for the plunger.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's a holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Edith Groth steps forward, and she's like, I would love to. And she pulls the plunger up and pushes it down, and there's just a brief second as, Magnus covers his ears. It's not as loud as you would expect. You feel it more than you hear it. This deep, followed by the falling and tumbling of stone. There's like a tense moment as everyone holds and waits and kind of looks towards the dust that kicks out from the fissure itself. And there's this moment of the guards being tense and everybody kind of on edge waiting, but nothing comes pouring out. No creatures come shambling from the fissure. The dust settles, and Edith kind of straightens up. She's like, well, please follow me, and please do not touch anything. It's my experience that certain types like these, I haven't found many ruins that are appear to be the practicings of ancient wielders of magic, or the spark as we call it these days. But in my studies, there are a lot of protections that are put in place to keep prying eyes from learning their secrets. Competitors, as it were. So,
I feel like we should probably wait about 10 minutes for the dust to settle before we go in.
certainly, certainly.
And in that 10 minutes, I'll do the ritual casting for Detect Magic on myself.
Why 10 minutes? Can we go sooner?
It's almost like you have a spell that lasts 10 minutes.
Just about 10 minutes sounds reasonable.
As we're
We leave you behind. We walk in.
I'll also say, as the plunger is dropped, you get this sensation that consecration from the box vanishes, and there's almost a flare of the same feeling that comes from the detonation that then also dissipates.
I think there's something holy or angelic about the Kesso itself.
Perhaps.
I think as we're kind of waiting for the dust to clear, I think this is something that probably isn't conscious to Saoirse, but I would like to cast Divine Sense.
Yeah. Do you wait until Magnus finishes his 10-minute thing?
I think I do it as the dust plumes up. I think I'm just trying to. I think what Saoirse thinks she's doing is just listening closely.
Yeah, you kind of instinctively step a little bit closer, having sort of an innate sense of that radius. But it's less of this is my radius and I've got to get closer, and more of if I get closer I might be able to hear better. Take a few steps forward. During that moment of anticipation, you don't sense anything this time. You don't get that sickening, sinking feeling like you got at the cottage.
Okay.
I'm not waiting on him. I just walk in.
Oh, are you waiting on the archaeologists?
What are they doing?
She sends a team to begin clearing the debris from the explosion, which will need to be removed before entering anyway.
Okay.
So she sends them as Magnus is doing his ritual on his eyes.
Can I get close to the opening just to see if I notice anything like I did with the plunger?
Yeah, after the explosion goes off and the dust begins to settle and people are in there moving, they're filling carts with stone that are then being wheeled out and dumped off to the side in this large area where there's also people going through those to make sure that there aren't any artifacts or remnants of artifacts that were, somehow encased in the stone itself. You guys can definitely loop around and look into the crevice for the first time.
Okay.
Which, as you do, you see it's a strange amalgamation of ancient stonework with common day, arcane lighting practices that have been set up to illuminate the area. It's still a little dusty, especially with that prior explosion and the rocks being wheeled out, but you can see indeed there is a portion of stone that has been blasted away or blasted open that is looking into a deeper chamber. It is unlit and is very dark inside. But you have dark vision, so you can make a perception check, Arixovia.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, you're stepping over as well with your divine sense. How long does that last? Is that just a...
That's one turn.
Okay.
That's a nat 1, which brings it to a 5.
Yeah, there's too much dust to see through even still.
Just sneeze.
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, looking through, you see it appears to be made from the same type of stone that makes up the cliffs themselves. You can see now, looking at what has been like dug through and blown away as they've been doing the dig here and the excavation, it's probably a good like 15 feet thick of stone that must have either like collapsed onto this portion. There was probably like a hallway here before that was just completely crushed. And that's kind of what has been opened up by the explosions. Just past that, you see a large chamber that you can only see like 60 feet into, but looking in, you don't see a wall on the other side. And you see what appears to be a series of desks that are made from wood that seems to be preserved somehow. You don't know if this place was like airtight or what the situation was, but
It's not rotted.
Yeah, like you've living in Lochvora as long as you have, you've seen ruins. There are like ruins that you can hike to up on mountaintops that are. It's just like
And we do.
Yeah, it's just like a stone wall or like the base foundation of what was once a structure that may have like hints at archways or pillars or things. This is the equivalent to like if we unearthed a buried like Greek tomb that the statues were still painted in.
Yeah.
This is like unheard of. Edith Groth is right there beside you. Magnus, you finish your ritual.
I don't get any like senses of undead or evil. Okay.
Right.
Seems fine. Seems good.
She taps her staff on the ground and it alights again. She kind of like holds it out in front of her and she's like, do your best to stay behind me and step where I step. And as she goes in, we make an investigation check to check for traps.
I haven't rolled this whole time.
Do something.
We've just been, no, we've just been in the sauce of it. That was my first roll.
Yeah. She steps in, stepping carefully, moving the light around. It lights up the space. And now, without roll required, you all see... You know what? Make perception checks. Go for it.
Hey, do I get to make another one?
Sure.
Nice.
Because now as you're entering the space.
16.
Nice.
That's my second one.
That's like our third or fourth natural one of the
third,
session.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've made very few rolls, and they've been mostly bad.
Sloppy natty ones.
She just keeps walking around and we keep...
A gentle mage's 8.
She turns and knocks a stack of books onto the ground.
She knocks Magnus out.
Oh god!
He only had 2 hit points.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
Nice.
Excellent.
14.
14. Brody and Arixovia. Stepping in, the first thing that catches your eye is on the far corner of the space, as it is now lit by this sort of arcane bluish glow from her staff. There is what appears to be some sort of... your first thought is like there's a tree over there, but it actually appears to be just thick vines that are kind of coiled up into a corner from floor to ceiling. Saoirse, you notice this as well, and on your roll, you see there appears to be a skeletal, not even skeletal, but like almost mummified, just arm protruding from the edge of it. And it seems to be clutching something in its hand, sort of rectangular, greenish shape.
Arm.
I see that. Follow me, follow me.
Is that copper that he's holding? Is it like a tarnished?
It appears to be well patinaed, but let's investigate further. And she...
Hold on. Don't get too jumpy at trying to get to weird stuff that's been buried for 1,000 years.
Yes,
Let's,
I'm
like,
keeping
look
my
around.
eyes on the floor.
Well, the vines have me concerned because those how the skeleton things were being animated before.
Were they that large?
No, that's why I'm concerned. Like, what
I
if
see.
that animates into something bigger?
I see. Perhaps we should...
How heavy is that tablet that guy's holding, does it look like it's more than 5 pounds or whatever?
It looks like it's probably around 5 pounds. It seems about the same size and shape as the one that you had,
Would I be able to
that you had investigated.
grab it with Mage Hand and bring it over to us without us having to go right?
Certainly.
Right.
What does Mage Hand look like as you cast it?
I'll say it looks like one of those cartoonishly gloved hands, basically.
Yeah.
With the lines on the back.
It only
Yeah.
has 3 fingers.
Because it's
Or 4, I guess, total.
yeah.
Because that's a spell that I've had for a long time.
Excellent.
Like one of my first spells.
Hell
so
yeah.
it still has kind of a sense of whimsy to it.
I love that. Yeah, the little master hand floats over, and you go to lift the tablet, and it's like being clutched by this mummified, like really dry hand. But you manage to actually go ahead and make an Arcana check to see if you can maneuver it in such a way to get it free without it weighing more than 5 pounds.
10?
10 is enough. You manage to just slide it out to the side. The gloved hand is kind of like pinky up and just like gets it out, and it drifts along the room over to you. You can see where the fingers were curled over is actually still polished copper. The patina had kind of like spread out from there, but that being in contact with something remained. And you can't make it out exactly without like some cleanup, but this does appear to be a continuation or perhaps prior writing.
Like the final lab notes, like we were saying, like the chainsaw arm gorillas escaped in the lab.
Maybe so.
note.
You'll have to clean it up, check it out to see what it says.
Will press the digitate clean the patina off, or will it require more elbow grease?
Ooh, I like that. Make another Arcana check. I'm going to say on a 12 or higher, that will work.
Come on, big 5. That's good. 22.
22. Yeah, it takes a couple of castings, probably about 30 seconds total, to just like get layers and layers and layers off, and that's less of like you're trying not to be super abrasive and erase the message itself. You're trying to just like layer by layer clean it up. At this point, once you've kind of retrieved this, Edith Groth has made her way around the room and calls out to all of you. We'll want to probably still keep our distance from the vines just in case, but this entire area aside from the corner where the vines are is cleared. You shouldn't have to fear for where you're stepping. Again, please don't touch anything, especially if it looks like it is made of wood. It could be petrified and solid, or it could crumble to dust in your fingers. There's only one way to find out, and I'd prefer we not find out yet.
Is anything magical as I'm looking around? Like, is anything ping as magic?
No, not in this space. There is a door, or rather, there's an archway just on the other side of the vines that leads maybe like 5 feet into a hallway, and then more stone that has kind of like fallen and is completely blocking that off. But that appears to be, aside from this closet, that door that you came out of, appears to be the only entrance to this chamber.
Okay.
Otherwise.
Well, nothing in here is magic, so that would indicate some level of safety. Not that there can't be just clockwork traps.
Certainly,
course.
certainly.
There's what as an option?
Clockwork traps? Just like some contraption instead of something magical.
Have I, out of curiosity, as a blacksmith, would I have any reason to work with clockwork in any way? That I might be able to find it?
I'm going to say that is up to you, depending on, how far your smithing has gone. Do you focus on like nails and like your typical like building materials that most blacksmiths would make, or do you go further and do like I would say actually blacksmithing, no, you would require tinkering tools to be like to fix clocks and watches and things.
What do you think all of these desks were for?
Is it like a school?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
After I've cleaned it off, I'll go, all right, you guys want me to
go to
read this?
school.
Yes, please.
Unless you think it's gonna blow us all up.
There's something else that I'm curious about. You mentioned in the last translation, and Edith reaches into her her bust and presents her journal again and kind of flips through. You stated before, yes, Let them sneer. Let Vordholm laugh at my folly. Vordholm, have you ever heard that term before?
I don't know, have I?
No.
No. It's new to me.
Yes, I'm not familiar with it either. Yes, please, do translate. And she's like ready with a quill.
The fires above have yet to die. My flesh is scorched, my limbs mangled, yet I live, cursed to endure by my own hand. Oh, the irony, the brilliance of my craft, now my torment. I feel the walls around me groan, as if they too bear witness to my folly. Vordholm is no more. The proud spires, the gilded halls, consumed in ash and fire. They brought this upon themselves, their endless hunger for power and my foolish attempts to surpass them all. And then it goes on, perhaps a different entry. The saplings whisper to me now. My creations endure. Through the air reeks of their agony. The life I took to grant them breath, to give them thought, was it truly worth it? A beast's vitality burns within bark, a bird's melody lingers in leaf, and yet they are wrong, broken. What I sought to perfect has become a mockery of life itself. And another entry. But there is still hope. The obsidian seed, my magnum opus, remains untouched by the flame. It waits below, buried with me. If I can harness what is left, perhaps I can undo the cost of my ambition, or replace it. To any who read this, if time has not erased my words, I beg of you, leave this place. Leave me to my roots and my ruin. There is nothing here but sorrow and shadows. And
the rest of the page is illegible, save for a single line written in shaking hand.
And there's just one more bit that says, life for life, the price must always be paid. Well, that sounds like some horrific stuff happened.
Life for life.
Like, they were killing things and putting them in plants of different types.
I don't know that they were killing them so much as it sounds like they were attempting to transfer their life into the plants, but
leaving both forms ruined as a result, though.
She kind of like taps her staff on the ground, and what has been sort of like a radiant sort of lantern light coalesces into a more spotlight sort of beam, as now other mages have entered the space, and archaeologists are also taking care to like begin slowly going through books and things. They're all taking the same amount of care that she did when she was searching the ground. You see as like one of them slowly pulls a book from they're just doing their job.
Do you
Relax.
not feel like maybe if the man asks you to leave his weird tomb alone, we should leave the weird tomb alone?
Well, I think the tomb is underneath.
I mean, if we were scared off by every cryptic writing that we found in a tomb, we'd never know anything about
I'm not
past.
so much suggesting even scared, but just respectful.
Well, this was a tomb of his own creation.
Certainly. Was he being respectful to those skitter monks whose souls he ripped from their bodies to try and put them in the vines?
So does that not make you just as bad? Then
I would think not. We're just trying... But look at it this way. We're sort of like historical detectives. We've been presented with a mystery, and we'd like to get to the bottom of it. We're not harming anyone. We're not even harming the history itself. If anything, we're preserving it. These things, they belong in a museum. And she says that. You can see the others are slowly pulling books out, which the books don't seem to like crumble to the touch. They dare not open them in this space. They just sort of like are dusting them off to see if they can read titles of things. She moves the beam of light over and kind of like gestures it up along the vines, which you can all make perception checks one more time.
So, do I like get a sense of what this place was? Like what it's intended for?
18.
Nice.
4.
19.
5.
Excellent. I think
We're holding hands.
I think Magnus, you're still like poring over this copper slate and you like flip it over to see if there's anything on the back. It's just smooth on the back. I mean, it's
Like,
crusty and
what's
rusted,
right here?
but there's nothing engraved there. You're going through to make sure that you've translated everything thoroughly and properly. Brody, you're looking around, trying to decipher.
I'm just
like
looking at Edith, I think.
You're just kind of following her.
you're like looking around trying to figure out like what this place is. She steps by and there's just like this nice kind of like lilac scent that she's prestidigitated herself with, and just kind of like follow that a little bit. The two of you, Arxovir and Saoirse, you're kind of looking at the vine. The vines are still. It appears to be like a sort of crawling vine. As Edith taps her staff again and it goes back to that sort of voluminous, I should say, light that fills the space better. You see that the vines, you can almost follow like the path that they climbed, that they grew. They do not puncture the stone of this room. They just kind of reach the top. But you see, you notice, you rolled a 19? Mm-hmm. Okay, Saoirse, you notice that there are kind of scratch marks in the stone. And upon closer inspection, you get the sense that these vines were once in motion. And you can see that those scratch marks are like along the floor. They're also up on different parts of the walls. So you can see there's one desk in particular that was like already crushed and collapsed. You get the sense that like following those scratches seem to be from these vines in particular, but now they more closely resemble the little shriveled scrap that Magnus has saved from the ones that you experienced outside. Arxovir, you notice hidden, like just peeking out behind where the vines now are a mass, like crawling vines up the wall to the ceiling. You can see that they appear to be protruding from what was once the like neck, face, and chest cavity of this now mummified being. You can also see, just peeking out from behind them on the walls, are these sort of mandala-like glyph circles. And one of them has like a fissure through it, where it has kind of like broken and been offset. And I'm gonna say that Saoirse and Arxovir, you guys can both make a... Did we implement our lore checks last time?
Yeah.
You can both make a lore check.
It was intelligence, right?
Yeah. You could also choose to use investigation if that's better for you.
That must be glyph 7.
It's a 15.
5. Arxovir, there's been something kind of just like standing your hairs on end since you entered this space. Since you caught a glimpse of the consecration of whatever it is that they were using to open up the space. You've been kind of on edge. Listening to what Magnus has translated, I think it's very clear and plain to Arxovir that something happened unrelated to what they were doing that caused this place to collapse, and they were trapped here. Probably the previous copper slate was before. This one, you get the sense, was less of like a lab journal and more of a like final diary, a final message. You think they probably were trapped when whatever happened, and probably whatever that obsidian seed is was at the heart of why now the vines protruded from their body. You think maybe this was somebody who was trying to put animals' essence into plants, who was then trapped with nothing but their work, and were like, well, if I'm gonna die anyway, might as well do a human trial. And it doesn't seem to have gone well. You all are aware that there don't appear to be any markings or fissures or indications in this particular chamber that this is where the things you encountered came from. That's not to say they couldn't have come from somewhere else within this complex. There's definitely a tunnel that leads to a separate area. This place could be much more vast than anyone knows, and certainly the dig will continue.
Magnus, how often do you come across magics that you deem unsafe for people to know?
I mean, I don't think we usually make that kind of determination.
I think any magics could be dangerous in the wrong hands.
I don't think that this one can be anything but dangerous.
Do you know magic?
I do a bit, yes. I'm nowhere near the level of achievement that the mage Magnus Fisker has achieved. Yeah.
Level 1 wizard.
I've got 2 cantrips.
Gee, Bill, how come you get 2 kids?
How do you think my breasts became so huge?
It's all an illusion.
His pastor. No!
Nope, they're real. This
We
is,
always have to end up here, right? That's the
Yeah,
deal.
it's kind of what we're all about.
however, magical practitioner is not my focus. I'm more interested in enchanted items, items that have had magic placed within them or upon them. There are, I won't bore you with the different types of classifications that there tend to be, but we have experienced and come across things in previous digs where it was deemed by us on the site, as well as our higher-ups at Vendavir University, that these findings should not be published or made public. Is my understanding that there are particular vaults and places in and around Vendavir University where the dangerous things are tucked away and further studied, but not. We don't release publicly our knowledge on, how to recreate those types of things, because that would be incredibly dangerous and incredibly immoral.
Apparently there's something called the obsidian seed buried beneath all of this, in whatever tomb this
Yes.
researcher created for himself.
I was curious about that because it sounds almost as though perhaps when they say it waits below, buried with me, below might be referring to this chamber. Maybe they mean below, and she kind of like motions at, probably miles of earth leading up to the top of the cliff. Not miles, but you get what I mean.
Sure. I guess we would have to know the entire layout.
Yes, and I do plan to. It's looking, and she kind of like looks down at the hallway that's covered in stone. Based on the timeline that it took us to get through the last rock that had fallen in place, it could be a couple of days, it could be a couple of weeks before we get to the next chamber. But I can certainly keep you posted.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can send missives to you. It's my understanding you are planning to obtain a Seeker's Edict for yourself, for your own endeavors.
If you could write a letter of recommendation or something for me, that'd be super duper.
Again, I have no sway over the Seekers Guild. They're a separate entity from Vendavir University.
Cool. Well, maybe the discoveries that I've made while I was here will get me what I need in that respect.
Yes, certainly. Master Rykard had mentioned that there was something that you were hoping to find in these tablets. Did you find what you were looking for?
I sadly did not. No. Just a mystery of its own. If you find any more copper tablets like that in the dig, do tell me.
Yes, perhaps we can send you some rubbings.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sure. I'm all about the rubbings.
People always say that. People always say that. You're all so nice. Thank you so much for being respectful of the space. And I know that this is a bit of a sometimes considered taboo bit of work. In a way, we've discovered this person at the preserved time of their last moment, and there's always emotion that is tied to things like this. But I appreciate all of you being respectful and not attempting to stop us like others would see us stopped. I truly believe that the things that we can discover down here will push society forward.
That's the hope.
Yes. Well, we've got a lot of work to do. And unfortunately, from here on out, it's going to be a lot of handling of very delicate materials. So I'm afraid that we must say our goodbyes, but I can see you out. She kind of like motions.
Will you be using more of the queso?
I think it might be too dangerous. We'll probably have to switch to just a pickaxe and going by hand from here. The closet area was uncovered, and we were finding mostly jars and vessels, and it seemed like a sort of storage space for not only things for daily use, but also perhaps there were a lot of beakers and fascinating how when a vial sits on its stand for so long, technically glass is still a liquid. So they've all begun to droop and become much thicker at the bottom than they would have been in their time of use. Fascinating stuff. But once we discovered what we thought that room was used for and removed everything from it, we deemed it necessary to use the Kesso to get through to this space. But now that we are within the cliffside itself, and there's no telling how unstable it's going to be here forward, I think the use of the Kesso will be much too dangerous for ourselves and those who might be above us, should a collapse happen.
Yes.
We will definitely move forward with extreme caution, and I am confident that there should be no more, rather, if the Kesso was involved with the situation that you experienced and that the former prince is taking issue with, then from here on out it should no longer be an issue. Hopefully that is the case, and there will be no more incursions of these strange vine creatures. But I'd be willing to wager that it doesn't look like there's any sorts of cages or holding zones for any types of creatures in this space. I would bet that's what we're going to find deeper in.
Yeah. Well, just let us know if anything else comes up.
Yes, if there are any developments, I shall communicate with our colleagues at Vanderveer University and make sure that the proper parcels make it to you.
Well, I guess the next step is to go and try to get the Seekers Guild sanction.
When did you say? I'm guessing we're kind of starting to wind our way back out.
Yeah, she leads you guys out and says her goodbyes, wishes you well in your endeavors of finding a Seeker's Edict. And you guys begin probably making a slow trek now under light of day back up the cliff towards wherever you're headed.
Loamhaven?
You were saying.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Do you happen to know when your parents are coming home?
You know that it would probably be like 5 to 7 days max that they're gone, and they've probably been gone for like 4 days.
Yeah, because we haven't seen them
Yeah.
in like a decade or something.
I mean, I haven't. You may have.
No.
Oh, well, then, yeah. I mean, they'll probably be back in a few days.
All right. Do you think they'd kidnap my dad?
When you say
you
kidnap,
think our parents kidnapped your dad?
Like sanctioned kidnapping?
Like,
would they?
What?
Would they?
like, are you asking us
Why?
would they take
'Cause-
him with them?
Right, because if I'm gonna go to Gloamshore with you, then he's probably not gonna eat.
Oh, what? Will they watch your dad?
Will they just take him? I don't think.
That's a different thing.
I don't think he'll go voluntarily.
Can he work on a boat?
He can. He's well within the ability.
He can make cakes and stuff, right? Maybe he can work as a cook on the ship.
There you go. He needs a task, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of what he's missing right now for the last 15 long, quiet years. Sometimes he'll find something, and he'll do that for a little bit. But I think he kind of
How
maybe.
long has it
I think
been,
some
actually?
time at sea.
It's been 15 years
15?
since
Okay.
the incident.
I think some time at sea could do him good.
We can persuade him forcefully.
Yeah. We can do that if you want.
Do you guys head back to Saoirse's place?
Yeah, I mean, we need to go to the city anyway. So, unless you want to stop back by Granny Brynja's place.
Yeah, I
and then be
probably
back.
would. I don't know if we have to play it out or anything, but just like to let Granny know what's going on.
Yeah.
I
yeah, we
would.
can,
I would like to play it out. I'd like
Yeah.
to see what she has to say about
Yeah.
all of this.
we can play that a little bit, yeah. You guys return to Granny Brynja's cottage. She's sitting out on the front, like, little patio that they've set up, and is appears to be whittling what will soon become a saber moose figurine out of wood as you all step up. Ah, welcome back. How did your little trip go? Were you able to stop the little vine creature beings? We haven't seen any more since the night.
Well, that's
Yeah.
positive in the grand scheme.
We heard that there were more.
Oh.
Lord Owen had came to stop the dig.
Oh, Lord Owen, so handsome. Clearly not his father's son.
I mean, you never know.
Oh, we are pretty
Kinda just ugly dad.
No. I mean, we are pretty certain. Perhaps you're not familiar. I learned of these shortly after we came back to, came to Lokvara for the first time. Prince Owen, during the Ember Flare, some changes took place. She kind of like motions at her fuzzy visage. Apparently, within the Lokvarana royal line, formerly Prince Owen, was the only one to change. Not his mother, not his father. So, some think maybe he was not either their child, was adopted. Others think maybe his mother was seeing someone else, and...
I mean, there's no proof of any of that.
Certainly not, but people are going to judge what they see. This has always been the way.
Well, we think we might have found the source of the creatures. Magnus was able to translate some tablets that appeared to have belonged to some kind of an arcane scholar. I don't think he met a very good end, though.
Bummer.
Have you ever heard of an obsidian seed before?
Obsidian seed. Well. So do you feel like talking about this obsidian seed and asking Granny Brynja, have you filled her in on like everything that you experienced in the day prior? Excellent.
Yeah.
I will say I do not know of any specific obsidian seed, but based on the tale that you have told me, it reminds me of one of the fables. Specifically a tale of the Runamore, the Thorn Father. It sounds as though this wizard down in their dungeon was making a half-witted attempt to recreate what the Runamore did. Do you know why he is called the Thorn Father?
Because he is the father of thorns?
He's said to be the god who created the first ashen thorn trees upon the world of Nox. Some stories claim he's the world itself, and he was born when Noxira plucked out her eye in disguise. But the one through line is that the Runamore is always depicted with a long beard full of twigs. He is as prickly in attitude as his name would imply. There are many stories of quarrels between Thirunamore and his nephew, Kasovir. But one notable story about Thirunamore is his creation of the Elderkin. You see, Thirunamore, as the Fine Grimmer, or the end of times approached, he grew distant from his friends and his family. He did not have any love left for the living beings of Nox. He thought that there needed to be someone better, someone more in tune with their natural order, not this twisting of the spark that the humans would do. So he created the Zoanvir. He created animals that could stand and walk and talk like humans, but they gave in to the same follies as the humans. They began to intermingle with each other and learn of each other's cultures, and Thirunamore viewed this as the Zoanvirs being poisoned by humanity. So he put himself even further into isolation, and there he created the Elderkin, created from the trees and plants and fruits and vegetables of Nox. He created a sentient race of plant life, plants that could think and speak and feel. But he made the same mistake yet again, and he gifted the Elderkin with free will. With all of his creations turning against him eventually, it is said that he dug himself deep, deep into the heart of Nox, where he still resides to this day, turning and thrashing in his eternal slumber.
Interesting. I see some parallels from that fable,
Certainly.
but not necessarily. I don't know if one necessarily informed the other or not.
Kind of. Could somebody become a god again? Could a person?
Well, who knows? With
the Ember Flare and these abilities that have been awakened in so many across Nox, I don't think it is outside the realm of possibility that someone could continue growing more powerful and eventually reach that level, perhaps.
So free will is a mistake?
Tharunamor thought so. But Tharunamor hated people. And I personally love people. So I think Tharunamor is wrong and that everyone should have free will. Of course, no one has interacted with any Elderkin, at least not as they are from the stories, since the stories.
Where are they?
No one knows. Some say they are just a myth, but that is what they said about magic. And here we are. So perhaps they are still hidden away, biding their time. Or perhaps they are the ones who attacked us on Ilvermere. Perhaps they were angry at what we had been doing in their absence.
Maybe. There's only one way to find out. Is to go back.